fans? This is Jason Burgos from Sherdog.com, and with me is a talented fighter who at 4-2 is part of the PFL's all-new women's lightweight division at lightweight 155, and someone who steps into the cage to face another difficult test in Kayla Harrison in Atlantic City on July 11th at PFL 4 or PFL 17 for some people on different sites, and that is Morgan Frier. Morgan, thank you for taking some time out to speak with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Now, give me some background on yourself. You know, the sport is amazing because everyone's path to it is similar yet kind of different, but often very unique. Where did you grow up, and like, what was the journey to MMA? Like, you know, what was your upbringing like? Did you do martial arts? Did you do any kind of grappling? Did you do any kind of striking? Like, how do you eventually get to the sport of MMA one day?
So, when I was in high school, I started out in wrestling. I did wrestling my freshman year, my sophomore year, and my senior year. But other than that, like I grew up, with three older brothers. So everything, they always kind of like we were always fighting all the time, and they always wrestled too. So they would make me and my brother closer to my age, fight and like entertain their friends, So it was always like, trying to fend for yourself, kind of. Um, but yeah, so high school I did that, and kind of like when I was still in high school, I started to do jujitsu, and I just really started loving it, and I was doing it every single night, and I wanted to fight, but there was just no like openings for. It wasn't that big for women at the time. I think that's like 2004.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It was still kind of struggling a little bit with
Yeah.
that, and I just turned 18, and I had to get out of the house, so I joined the army. And when I joined the army, they have combatives, which is hand-to-hand combat. But I mean, when it comes down to it, it's jiu-jitsu,
Okay.
basically. So I joined that, and I was on the all-army. I went to the all-army tournament, and I was on the Fort Irwin combatives team. And after that, my coach that had taught me jiu-jitsu got me my first fight, and that was in 2015, I think. But yeah, I've just always been into sports my whole life, and always wanted to fight.
Were you at all like a fan of mixed martial arts growing up or anything like that? Did you have any favorite fighters or anything like that that you idolized?
I mean, I would say Holly Holm is definitely
Okay.
one of my favorite fighters. But I mean, still, like back then when I started, it wasn't. It was like Gina Carano, stuff like that.
Yes. Yep.
She was always awesome. I always loved all the women fights.
Yeah.
I still do. Like, people will ask me people's names, like of some of the fighters, and I don't know them very well at all. I only pay attention to the female
Yeah.
fighters because those are always, in my opinion, the most entertaining matches
Now,
so far. I mean,
now the PFL is unique, and I was just literally talking to her last night. Is they got Sarah Kaufman. Sarah Kaufman's from that time. She's one of the few that's still around, and like her, Leslie
yeah.
Smith, and maybe Roxanne Modafferi. Like now that you're in a division with her on a stage like this, are you looking forward to? Were you looking forward to when you first fought her? Were you at all kind of awestruck because she was fighting already when you were kind of just looking and being a fan of the sport? Was that a weird, surreal moment having to fight her?
It was definitely surreal, and I think that's what kind of messed up my fight was, like, it just didn't hit me until it never hit me. I was, like, in the ring ready to fight, and I was like, man, I still don't feel like I'm fighting, and, I'm across the ring from Sarah
Yeah.
Kaufman, So, yeah, that was definitely crazy. I mean, she's been fighting professionally since I was in high school. So, I mean, she's definitely got a lot of experience, on me and everything like that. But, yeah.
Um, you initiated the grappling in that first round. Going in, did you expect advantages on the ground against her? Or was it the kind of thing that's just what you felt in the moment? Because she's always been known as a very good striker, and the expectation would be, also that you're stronger than her because she's not a natural lightweight. She's fought a bantamweight and stuff like that. Was that part of the plan, or just kind of how things ended up in the moment of the fight?
So, I mean, what I really, like what happened was kind of what I wanted to happen. But once it like hit the ground, she kind of got that head and arm in really quick, and I wasn't feeling threatened by it before it was too late. And obviously, I didn't use the correct defense for it. Um, like I said, it was just really surreal for me, and I just wasn't there. It was like my first match all over again. You know what I mean? So that's what I would relate it to. That was just really big. PFL, that platform, my opponent, everything is crazy.
Now going into that fight, like, so did you feel an added anxiety or nervousness? Because you mentioned it was a big stage. It's a big jump to go from, yeah, I know the PFL is not the UFC, but PFL is still a big stage. You're still on ESPN. You're still fighting Sarah Kaufman in your first fight on the stage. Was it like even just a weird, surreal kind of thing just going up to the fight, the weeks leading up to, or did you feel like, I'm good, I'm ready to go, I'm excited for this? What was your feeling going to stepping onto a big stage like this?
Yeah, I would just say the whole thing was surreal because the whole week leading up, we flew out to New York, and from Monday up until the fight, we had like photo shoots and interviews and like different things like that I'm definitely not used to at all. It was never like that for my previous fights. For my previous fights, it would just be like, all right, this is the date you're fighting, show up. And then I wouldn't even know who I was fighting most of the time until like I stepped in the cage. And I would almost say that kind of benefited me a little bit more, but just all the thought process, like leading up, like, just, it was, there was a lot of anxiety and stress. I didn't sleep the whole night before.
Wow.
And it was, and then my fight wasn't until 9:30 p.m. So it was like, I didn't sleep. And then it was like all day just waiting for the fight. I'm like yawning before my fight. Like, damn. Like, yeah.
Did like, because you mentioned you had like responsibilities you didn't have in previous fights, how did that mess up your kind of rhythm? Because it's important for any athlete going into a situation where they're about to do their sport, especially fighting. You get into a rhythm, you have specific things. Even in the days they're always talking about, oh, you want to peek into a fight. Did those kind of unique responsibilities and things you never did before, did it kind of screw with your usual rhythm and things that you would normally do going into a fight, along with the nerves and fighting Sarah Kaufman, all this stuff?
What do you mean?
Like, maybe because did it take away from your training? Are you used to training a certain amount of hours those last few days, but you had to go do photos and you had to go do different things? Did it affect stuff like that?
No, it didn't really affect in that kind of way. Like I said, it was just crazy just because I'm not used to like the cameras and just everything like that. It was a bigger platform than anything that I've done before. So that just really threw me off,
Now, I'm not sure how far in advance about second fights, because the PFL has a schedule. I don't know how much. But when you find out you have Kayla Harrison your second fight, after getting Sarah Kaufman the first fight, is there some small part of you that's like, damn, PFL, like, thanks, like, I want to get into the playoffs, like, really, I gotta get Kayla Harrison next, like, I just got Sarah, is there a part of you like, come on, what the hell?
So, yeah, I mean, a part of me is like that, but honestly, like, I already knew it was going to happen. I knew as soon as I was signing this contract that there was a possibility, and most likely I was going to be fighting Kayla Harrison anyways. Because I remember last year I got hit up kind of maybe like 3 weeks before Kayla was going to have a fight with, I think, Josette Cotton, and they wanted me to fight her, and I was just like, I haven't been training. Like, you're giving me like a 3-week notice. I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? So I think maybe they've been wanting me to be, her opponent. And I just knew after Sarah Kaufman, the way that the lineup kind of is, that it was going to be Kayla afterwards, and it's Kayla. So I think the way that it works is the first seed goes against the 8th seed, and then it keeps going on that way.
Okay.
I don't know how I got set up with her, though, in regards to that for this match, but, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, we're talking to Sarah Kaufman yesterday. She brought up an interesting point, saying she wasn't surprised they made the matchup because everybody's looking at those two. They think they're going to get to each other in the finals, that putting Kayla against you is maybe, a storyline they could tell, like, oh, Kayla beat her in this kind of time, Sarah beat her. Something like that, does that like almost piss you off and motivate you that much more? Like, oh, they think Kayla's gonna beat me because Sarah beat. All right, we're gonna see how it is, and it gives you I mean, because you don't need much more fire, but does it kind of give you a chip on your shoulder going into this fight?
It doesn't give me a chip on my shoulder, you know. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be fighting with PFL in the first
Mm-hmm.
place, to be getting set up with these awesome opponents. You know what I mean? It's everything that I ever wanted was to have more of a challenge because, you know, I just wasn't getting that before. So, I mean, regardless or not, whether it's set up against, you know, the top people to win or not,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't put a chip on my shoulder. It just, I definitely think maybe it could go either way. They either think it's going to be a good fight, or they could think that it, you know what I mean, I'm just a body, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. Either way, it's about, you know, however I end up at the end of the night after the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now
So,
there's a whole lot of hype and momentum behind her, and understandably so because of her judo background. Even though Kaufman is more established name in MMA, do you feel like this fight has is a bigger opportunity because Kayla has been out front in the league's marketing since season one? Are you feeling like any more of a bigger spotlight from this fight to the last fight? Are more people like me trying to talk to you because you're fighting Kayla? Do you feel any difference in that? Are you getting more expectations from the PFL to do even more media? Is there any difference going in to fight Kayla since she's like a face?
um, it seems like there's a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
difference. You know, definitely Kayla, I would say, is the face
Mm-hmm.
behind the women's lightweight.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. It's not a secret. Like, you know what I mean? Uh, but I think either fighting both of them, like, definitely is gives me, you know, a higher platform, and it's going to be more of an upset to everybody, you know, if
Mm-hmm.
things don't turn out the way they want them. So it puts me at a disadvantage, but then again, I'm not at a disadvantage, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like either this way or that way. So
Now, of course, a big thing with Kayla and any opponent that's going to face her, everybody's got to prepare for the judo. It's world class, two-time gold medalist. It's arguably the best in the world, any gender. Did you do anything different for this camp? Did you bring in any different partners? Did you go to maybe a different gym just to get some different looks? Maybe they have some judo specialists, or did you stay mostly at your gym and work with the usual people you work with to prepare for this kind of fight?
So yeah, I've been working with Dennis Davis. I just started with him maybe at like a month and a half out from my fight with Sarah Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed at that gym, and I've been working with the same people. Obviously, with a different fighter, there's different ways you go about training for
Mm-hmm.
it, the fight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I've been with the same people. Um, I haven't been at Xtreme Couture's very long,
Okay.
but that's why I'm still there, is because, you know, Dennis Davis kind of took me under his wing, and I think there's a lot of potential here
I mean, Extreme
for
Couture
me.
is a major camp. Do you feel like moving to a camp like that with the even higher level of talent, world class talent they have? Are you feeling an improvement in your skill sets in your all around game working with the folks at Extreme Couture?
Definitely. I mean, if I'm not getting better and I'm training as much as I've been training, then I'm have to suck. You know?
Was there anything you and your team took from Kayla's fight with Pacheco that you'd like to implement in your game plan for this fight? Because I mean, she had a danger moment. There was a moment where there was a little scare for in the first round. There, did you see anything in that fight that made you go, okay, I think I can use that?
I think that fight it looked pretty much like, you know, some of her other
Mm.
fights, except obviously Pachenko took it a lot farther than some of the other
Hmm.
ones. Well, I think, what is that? That was her fourth fight.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the first. I think that maybe the first that got out the first round, or I think that was the first decision she had to get to.
So looking at all of her fights together, her game plan is the same every time.
Hmm.
So just looking at all those, and trying to put a game plan together is pretty, easy. It's just going through with it.
Hmm. And was this, the one of the things, and I've talked to a lot of people from the PFL last season, this season, and even for people that were in the UFC, they talk about how this has been one of the better paying organizations they've been a part of. They made better money than they have. Like, for example, a guy like Josh Copeland last year, he couldn't get like a nutritionist and like meal prep programs, couldn't afford it. He could afford it this last past year. He made it to the finals and whatnot. Was this, even just this first fight, one of your better paydays as a professional fighter?
Oh yeah, definitely, hands down.
And
I was fighting for a gladiator challenge before.
mhm.
So something that was different that I really enjoy is that I don't have to sell tickets.
Mm.
You know?
Yep, I hear that
Because
a lot.
that puts a lot of
Yep.
stress on your fight as well. Because it's not only you just being able to focus on your fight;
Hmm.
it's having to make sure you're coordinating everything properly. And PFL definitely has everybody in their own lanes, like helping you out.
Hmm.
They have somebody coordinating here and there. This person's gonna come pick you up here. We got your flight set up here.
Hmm.
So they definitely help you just be able to really focus on your fight, and I really like that.
Yeah, and I talked to Andre Harrison before. I talked to him a few times, and he talked about he had to do stuff like that when he fought. I forgot the name of the organization, A Ring of Combat in Atlantic City. How much does that affect how much you're making? Because do you get? Because I believe from what I know, you get a percentage of those ticket sales. Like, could you give me an idea of like, okay, this is how much I was kind of making when I had a good bunch of tickets sold, and this is how much I didn't make when I didn't sell. Like, how much of an effect is it to have to be a business person on the side and sell tickets when you're trying to fight, train for a fight?
Yeah, big time. I mean, another thing was I was fighting in
Mm-hmm.
California, and I'm living out here in Las Vegas now. So
Oh.
also, it's getting people, because everybody here in Las Vegas, everybody I know would love to come see a fight, but they're not going to
Yeah.
drive out 3.5 hours to go see a
Yeah.
fight. So it definitely affected that a lot too, because I wasn't able to sell as many
Mm-hmm.
tickets.
Was
So, but I mean, some people make a killing if they could sell a bunch of tickets, then they do
Yeah, because
pretty
some
well.
people just are natural at that. Or, they can get,
Yeah.
how was the experience for you? Because I don't want to sell tickets. I'm sure there's a lot of people like, what's the type of thing like I had 50, I sold 3. Like, was it
Yeah.
difficult? And it's just like almost like a waste, like a frustrating waste.
It definitely was frustrating. And I hate being a salesperson. I just want to do things, and I don't want to sell. Like, I'm a personal trainer, but there's a whole sales part of that, and I don't like doing that part. I just like doing the training
Hmm.
part. Same with fighting. I don't want to sell tickets.
Is that almost a thing than thinking about? Are you almost happier, at least at this point in your career, to be in the PFL over, say, the UFC, where the UFC is really about selling yourself and building a brand? Is that another nice load off of your shoulders mentally that you don't have to go on social and post and promote yourself and stuff like that? PFL really does just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So, the UFC's been one of my dreams for a long time, ever since I started fighting. But now that I've gotten into the PFL and I've gotten these chances to fight, like what I mean. It's not like I'm still thinking of that right
Hmm.
now. Like, I'm totally happy with being in the PFL. Like, I'm proud of myself to at least have gotten in there.
Now, 2 questions left. Now, the first one, it's more kind of less about fighting in some ways. First, nickname, Mad Dog. I was told that you only get your nicknames from people in your gym. Henry Corrales told me you're like a loser if you give yourself your own nickname. How did you get the name Mad Dog?
I gave it to myself.
Oh, no!
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, my initials are MDF.
Okay.
So Mad Dog. My mom gave me that nickname a long time ago because I
Really?
used to walk around pissed off all the time. Like, what I mean? If people like would look at me, I would look at them and be like, what the hell are they looking at? Like, I want to fight them. Like, I just had a lot of anger problems. You know what I mean? That's probably why it helps me at fighting too. So. She just called me a little mad dog because I used to walk around like, why are they looking at you? Why are they looking at me? Like,
You know what? You may not be a natural saleswoman, but you may be a natural New Yorker because you would fit in very good down here with that kind of
yeah,
outfit.
I hear that.
Now, a last question. For all my video segments going forward, I want to ask everybody, every fighter, to tell me, one thing aside of themselves, something that fans may not know or be surprised that they're into. Like maybe what's something that you really are into, or a hobby, or something like that, pastime that might surprise some people that you're a big fan or into.
Oh man, that's kind of hard. I don't think anybody would really be surprised about the things that I'm
Okay.
into. You know what I mean? I'm like an adrenaline
Mm-hmm.
junkie, so anything that gets my heart rate going. I love skydiving.
Oof.
Um, scuba diving. I'm actually going on the first. I'm going skydiving again.
How many times have you been skydiving? I'm terrified of being like 6 feet off the floor. I can't imagine jumping out of a plane. How many times have you done it?
That's why you gotta do it, man. You gotta get rid of your fear. This will be my fourth jump.
Okay, and does it get easier every time? Does it get more fun every time? Does the
Oh, it's been fun since the beginning. Since the first one, you just have to, if you're scared of it, you just have to do it once, and then you're gonna be that person that's like, I'm gonna keep doing this.
What about what?
Seriously.
Are you gonna take it like to another level? What about some cliff diving? Maybe spelunking. How about that?
I have no idea what spelunking is.
I only know it from Batman Begins. I don't even know what it is either.
Oh, okay. It sounds kind of I don't know. But I definitely would love to do some cliff diving. That would be fun. The squirrel dive.
Yep.
Yeah.